Then I woke up very, very early on the Wednesday morning between the death and the funeral, and I just sat down and wrote it, and it took about an hour and a half, and just came pouring out.
I have full confidence in Catherine and William. Their judgment is sound, their loyalty unquestioned.
You thought you buried her secrets in that grave, Charles. But I have the final recording from the Paris hospital. I know what she said about you, and I know what you did to her boy's inheritance. If you sign that paper tonight, the world will hear her final words by midnight. Charles Spencer, please, I beg of you, you will destroy the crown. We can negotiate. What you just heard is not a scene from a movie. This is a highly classified, raw voice recording leaked from the private servers of the Spencer estate just 3 hours ago, and it has completely broken the internet. Yesterday, Princess Diana's brother, Earl Charles Spencer, did the absolute unthinkable. He didn't just break his 30-year silence. He walked into a high-security vault and pulled out the ultimate blackmail file against King Charles. For decades, we were told Diana's death was an accident, but Charles Spencer has just revealed a secret, encrypted audio tape recorded in her final hours. And what she whispers about King Charles and Camilla on that tape will completely end their reign. Why did he leak this now? Because King Charles was caught quietly transferring Diana's personal multi-million-dollar trust fund directly to Camilla's biological children, leaving William and Harry's kids with absolutely nothing. If you click away right now, you will miss the most dangerous, jaw-dropping cover-up in human history. Turn on those notifications, smash that subscribe button, and brace yourself. Because the truth is about to burn the House of Windsor to the ground. To understand how a single encrypted tape could threaten completely dismantle a 1,000-year-old monarchy, we must rip away the polished, multi-billion-dollar facade of the British royal family. For nearly 30 years, the world has been systematically brainwashed by a carefully orchestrated palace public relations machine. We were fed a beautifully sanitized narrative that the Spencer family had quietly accepted their tragic loss, that Earl Charles Spencer was content keeping his head down at Althorpe House, and that a fragile but respectful peace had been brokered between Princess Diana's brother and the man who broke her heart, King Charles. But behind the towering, cold stone walls of Kensington Palace and the sprawling ancestral Spencer estate, the truth is far uglier, far darker, and saturated with suffocating generational rage. The peace was a lie. It was nothing more than a calculated performance, a Cold War ceasefire designed to keep the public from realizing that the Spencers had been sitting on a nuclear button since September 6, 1997. The roots of this explosive confrontation were planted on the day of Princess Diana's funeral, standing at the pulpit of Westminster Abbey, with the entire royal family sitting just feet away in paralyzed, icy silence. A young Earl Charles Spencer delivered a eulogy that shook the global establishment to its absolute core. He looked directly at the royal family and swore a sacred public oath. I pledge today that we, your blood family, would do all we can to continue the loving way in which you were steering these two exceptional young men, so that their souls are not simply smothered by machinery and duty. It was an open, public declaration of war. The royal courtiers never forgave him. The palace responded by building an impenetrable wall around young Prince William and Prince Harry. They restricted Spencer's physical access to his nephews, blocked him from major state dinners, and systematically tried to erase the Spencer influence from the future heirs to the throne. They wanted to make Charles Spencer an outsider, a bitter memory. But Charles Spencer didn't just fade away into the British countryside. He watched in silence as the palace machinery slowly tore his nephews apart. He watched Prince Harry flee the country in a desperate bid for survival, and he watched Prince William buckle under the suffocating, lonely weight of his royal destiny. The tipping point that turned this quiet resentment into a full-blown palace coup happened behind closed doors. For decades, a highly classified, multi-million-dollar trust fund known as the Spencer Diana Heritage Trust sat in a high-security Swiss bank. This was not state money. This was Diana's personal wealth, her jewelry, her private estate, and her intellectual property rights. By legal mandate, this trust was designed to bypass the crown entirely, locked away to be inherited solely by her future grandchildren, the children of William and Harry. But as King Charles's physical health began to rapidly fail, a terrifying power vacuum opened up inside the palace gates. Queen Camilla, Acutely aware that her time as the reigning queen consort was ticking away on a very short, volatile clock, realized that the moment William ascended the throne, her own biological children, Tom and Laura, would be instantly cast out of the royal inner circle with absolutely zero financial security. To prevent her family's total financial exile, Camilla initiated a highly secretive, aggressive legal raid. She exploited King Charles's physical frailty and cognitive exhaustion, bypassing the traditional royal lawyers to hire a ruthless, private corporate legal firm based in Mayfair, London. Their objective? To draft a highly confidential, backdated executive amendment to the royal succession charters. Under the guise of routine estate consolidation, the document quietly authorized the transfer of the Spencer Diana Trust assets directly into a private holding company controlled entirely by Camilla and her biological children. They thought they were being incredibly clever. They thought they had covered their tracks. But they forgot one crucial thing. The Spencers have eyes and ears inside every high-security bank in London. The moment the Swiss trustees flagged irregular transfer requests, a highly confidential red alert was sent directly to Althorpe House. When Charles Spencer read the legal draft, his blood ran ice cold. It wasn't just an attack on Diana's grandchildren. It was a brazen, systematic attempt to erase the final physical traces of his sister's legacy and hand them over to the very woman who had made her life a living hell. For 30 years, Spencer had guarded his sister's darkest secrets, waiting for the one fatal mistake that would justify releasing them. Camilla's greed had just handed him the perfect weapon. Charles Spencer didn't call a lawyer. He didn't file a polite complaint with the palace. Instead, he went straight to a secure, underground vault at Althorpe House and pulled out a dusty military-grade encrypted digital drive containing a recording the world was never supposed to know existed. The final, desperate words of Princess Diana, recorded from her Parisian hospital bed. The war was no longer about titles, protocols, or money. It was about absolute, raw survival. And Charles Spencer was ready to burn the entire monarchy to the ground to win it. The storm raging outside Buckingham Palace on Monday afternoon was nothing compared to the absolute, volcanic fury unfolding inside the heavily guarded state writing room. Under the pretense of a routine, private administrative meeting, King Charles, Queen Camilla, and a small circle of elite, high-ranking estate trustees had gathered to finalize the transfer of the Spencer Diana Trust. The atmosphere was thick with tense, urgent hushes. King Charles, looking frail and deeply exhausted, held a gold nib pen over the dotted line. Camilla stood directly behind him, her eyes sharp, watching the pen hovering over the document that would seal her children's financial dynasty forever. But they had underestimated the sheer, unstoppable determination of a brother who had spent 30 years waiting for this exact moment. Suddenly, the heavy, gold-leaf double doors of the state writing room didn't just open. They were violently slammed backward against the walls. The royal security detail was thrown into absolute chaos as Earl Charles Spencer strode into the room. He didn't wear a formal suit. He wore a rain-soaked dark trench coat, his eyes burning with a cold, terrifying intensity that froze every single person in their tracks. Behind him, two panic-stricken royal protection officers were desperately trying to hold him back, but Spencer pushed past them as if they weren't even there. "Get your hands off me," Spencer roared, his voice echoing violently off the high, gilded ceiling. "I have a sovereign right to be in this room, and you all know exactly why." Queen Camilla gasped, her hand instantly flying to her throat as her face drained of all color. What is the meaning of this intrusion? Security, remove this man immediately. He has no clearance. Clearance? Spencer laughed, a harsh, mocking sound that cut through the room like a blade. He stepped directly up to the massive mahogany table, slamming his hands down onto the polished wood, leaning in until he was mere inches from King Charles's face. "You think your security can stop me, Charles? Look at me. Look at the brother of the woman you tortured for a decade. Did you really think I would sit quietly in Northamptonshire while this usurper raids my sister's grave to fund her own family?" King Charles's hands began to tremble violently. The pen slipped from his fingers, clattering loudly against a crystal inkwell. The king looked up at his brother-in-law, his eyes filled with a mixture of profound guilt, physical exhaustion, and sheer terror. "Charles Spencer, please." The king's voice cracked, tears visibly welling in his eyes as he clutched his chest. We are old men. This family has suffered enough. I did this to ensure peace in my household. You don't understand the pressure. Peace! Spencer spat, his voice dropping to a deadly, venomous whisper. You bought your domestic peace with my sister's blood, and now you want to buy it with her children's inheritance? You are a coward, Charles. You have always been a coward. How dare you? Camilla shrieked, her composure completely shattering as she stepped around the table, pointing a shaking finger directly at Spencer's face. You are a bitter, irrelevant spectator. That trust is state adjacent, and we have every legal right to restructure it. You have nothing. No lawyers, no court in this land will side with you against the crown. Spencer slowly straightened up, a slow, terrifying smile spreading across his face. It was the smile of a man who knew he had just walked his enemies directly into an execution chamber. He reached into his rain-soaked coat pocket and pulled out a small, military-grade, encrypted black digital drive. He slid it slowly across the mahogany table until it tapped gently against the unsigned legal documents. You think I came here with lawyers, Camilla? Spencer said, his voice deadly calm. I came here with a ghost. What is that? King Charles whispered, staring at the flashing red light on the digital drive, as if it were a live bomb. This, Spencer said, leaning over the table, is a complete, unedited audio recording from the Paris hospital room on the night of August 31st, 1997. A recording made by a sympathetic French medical officer before your Secret Service operatives cleaned the room. It contains Diana's final, conscious words before she slipped away. And Charles, she doesn't just talk about the accident. She names you. She names Camilla. And she details the exact physical threats made against her life just 48 hours prior. The room fell into a deathly, suffocating silence, so profound you could hear the rain pelting against the massive glass windows. Camilla stumbled backward, her hand gripping the edge of a velvet chair for support, her eyes wide with unadulterated horror. And here's the twist, Spencer whispered, looking directly into Charles's weeping eyes. The encryption on this drive is linked to a dead man switch on a secure server in Geneva. If my personal biometric key is not entered into the system by midnight tonight, the entire audio file, fully authenticated by global forensic experts, will automatically leak to every major news network on Earth. You have exactly 7 hours to tear those papers up and sign over the Spencer Diana Trust to William and Harry's children permanently, or the world will hear exactly how your crown was built on her blood. By 9 p.m., the high-stakes blackmail attempt inside the state writing room had officially breached the palace walls, igniting an absolute, unprecedented digital firestorm. The physical lockout of Earl Spencer from Buckingham Palace had been captured on shaky smartphone footage by a group of stunned tourists waiting outside the gates. Within 45 minutes, that raw, 10-second clip of Spencer furiously shouting at royal protection officers while clutching a black leather folder hit X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok, exploding to a staggering 40 million views. The panic reached a boiling point when a highly notorious whistleblower account, linked to a network of elite London hacktivists, dropped a series of heavily encrypted, leaked audio snippets and document scans that sent shockwaves to the global financial markets. At Palace_whistleblower, breaking, the Spencer Diana Trust is compromised. Scans of the Mayfair legal filings confirm Queen Camilla's lawyers were attempting to transfer £150 million of Princess Diana's intellectual property and jewel assets into a private shell company. Earl Spencer's dead man switch is active. The countdown to the Paris audio leak has officially begun. Hashtag Diana Letters, hashtag Spencer Rebellion. As the hashtag the Paris tape surged to the absolute #1 trending spot worldwide, the public shock turned into absolute, paralyzing disbelief as a second, completely unexpected twist dropped. A prominent digital security firm in California traced the IP address of the secure server hosting the Dead Man Switch archive. It wasn't registered to a Swiss bank, nor was it hidden in the Spencer ancestral vaults at Althorpe. The encryption keys and hosting servers were registered directly to a private, heavily guarded residence in Montecito, California. Prince Harry was not just a passive spectator in his mother's homeland. He was a primary architect behind his uncle's tactical raid. Behind the back of his brother, Prince William, who had been desperately trying to play the role of the loyal, pacifying heir to his ailing father. Harry had quietly flown into London on a private charter under an assumed name just 24 hours prior. He had met with Earl Spencer in absolute high-security secrecy at Althorpe House, handing over the highly classified, decrypted medical files and recording backups that Diana had smuggled to her brother decades ago. Harry and Spencer had formed a ruthless, desperate alliance. Harry knew that William was too constrained by his duty to the crown to fight back against Camilla's quiet financial coup. By executing this coordinate strike, Harry had handed his uncle the nuclear codes to the monarchy, forcing his brother William into a corner. William must either choose to stand with his father's corrupt court or break his loyalty to the crown to protect his own children's future alongside his brother and uncle. As the midnight deadline approached, the entire world held its breath, waiting to see who would blink first in this high-stakes game of psychological chess. By 10:30 p.m., the virtual world was no longer just commenting on the drama. It had fractured into two violently warring factions. The loudest, most deafening roar came from Princess Diana's legendary global fan base, who had spent nearly 30 years watching Queen Camilla quietly climb her way to the throne. To them, this wasn't just a legal dispute, it was a divine, poetic execution. Within minutes of the hashtag the Paris tape hitting the top of global trends, TikTok and X were completely flooded with high-definition edits of Diana's tragic life juxtaposed with the news of Earl Spencer's palace raid. One viral post, gathering over 18 million views in under an hour, captured the raw emotion. Diana said there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. Well, Camilla, it looks like her brother, just walked in to clear the room. The Spencers never forgot. The true Queen of Hearts is ruling from beyond the grave tonight. But as the celebrations erupted, the digital landscape descended into a toxic, high-stakes street fight. Camilla's staunch offenders and traditionalist royalist groups launched a brutal, coordinated counteroffensive. They flooded Prince William and Princess Catherine's official social media pages, calling Earl Spencer a bitter, delusional blackmailer who was exploiting a deceased woman's memory to terrorize an ailing, elderly king. The comment sections of major news networks turned into an absolute war zone. Deepfake videos leaked personal chat logs of prominent royal fan admins, and doxing threats flew across Reddit and Discord. The royal fandom wasn't just arguing. They were tearing each other apart in the dirtiest online war the internet had ever witnessed. But while fans fought on screens, the reaction inside the high-security glass towers of London's financial district in Zurich, Switzerland, was pure, unadulterated terror. The Spencer-Diana Trust wasn't just a sentimental box of jewelry. It held multi-million-dollar offshore portfolios, trademark rights, and sovereign-linked bonds managed by elite Swiss wealth conglomerates. The moment the Swiss trustees realized Earl Spencer had activated a dead man switch linked to allegations of unauthorized estate tampering by Queen Camilla, absolute panic ensued. Under strict international anti-money laundering and estate theft protocols, the banks had no choice. A senior investment compliance officer in Zurich leaked the internal chaos to a prominent financial editor. Our legal teams are in absolute meltdown. If the Spencers prove that the king's signature was coerced or that Camilla bypassed the crown charters, we are looking at a massive, immediate freeze on all sovereign-adjacent private funds. This could trigger default risks across 3 major European investment branches by tomorrow morning. If Spencer presses that button, it's not just the crown that collapses, it's a multi-billion-dollar banking network. The British monarchy was no longer just dealing with a messy family feud. They were standing on the absolute edge of a global financial disaster, where the future of the crown hung on who would blink first before the clock struck midnight. As the glowing hands of the grandfather clock in the Buckingham Palace corridor ticked closer to the midnight deadline, the ultimate psychological weapon was about to be unleashed. Deep inside the encrypted servers hosted at the Montecito estate, the counter was counting down 3 minutes and 14 seconds, 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Suddenly, in a soundproof security bunker beneath Windsor Castle, Prince William's heavily encrypted personal phone began to vibrate violently. The screen displayed a restricted, untraceable international satellite number. William, his face pale and eyes bloodshot from a night of brutal confrontation, answered, "Prince William, I told you never to call this line again, Harry." Prince Harry, voice calm, but laced with chilling resolve. You have 90 seconds to stop the palace attorneys. William. The dead man switch goes live at midnight, and you know exactly what is on that Paris tape. Prince William, clenching his fist, whispering furiously, "You are destroying the crown, Harry. You are destroying everything our mother built. You're letting Uncle Charles use her memory to settle a 30-year grudge." Prince Harry. "No, Willie. We are saving it from Camilla. She's stealing the inheritance. Our mother knew she would. Listen to her final words. Listen to what she said in that hospital bed. She predicted this exact night." With a heavy heart, William clicked the secure link Harry had sent directly to his encrypted screen. He pressed play on the unreleased digital file. Through static heavy, chillingly clear audio, Princess Diana's actual voice, weak, trembling, but filled with a terrifying lucidity in her final hour, echoed to the silent bunker. "Princess Diana," audio leak, "Charles Spencer, you must keep my journal safe. They will try to say I was mad. But the papers, the trust is the only shield my boys have. If Camilla ever takes a crown, she will try to erase me. She will try to strip William's children of what is theirs. Charles, you must use the key. Do not let her win." William dropped the phone onto the desk. Tears welled in the future king's eyes as he stared at the screen. It was real. His mother's voice from the grave wasn't warning them about an accident. She was predicting the very financial assassination that Camilla had just tried to execute. But then, the final, jaw-dropping twist dropped. As William stared at the decryption portal on his screen, a red warning flashing across the user interface caught his eye. The decryption of the secondary Spencer Trust, the one containing Diana's private, explosive Kensington diaries, required a dual biometric signature. William assumed it would require his and Harry's fingerprints. But as the system processed the final security protocols, a newly updated metadata screen revealed that the second required biometric signature had already been uploaded. It wasn't Harry's. Someone else had already signed their half of the encryption key, authorizing the release of the diaries to the global media the moment King Charles signed the transfer documents. The signature belonged to Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Kate had secretly aligned with Prince Harry and Earl Spencer behind William's back, using her own security access to help them destroy Camilla's coup from the inside. This is absolute, unmitigated warfare. Kate Middleton has joined Harry and Earl Spencer behind William's back. Is Kate a hero for protecting her children's future, or has she committed the ultimate royal betrayal? Who is the real villain in this family war? Scroll down right now and clash it out in the comments. The debate is already turning into a complete digital battlefield. If you want to be the absolute first to get the raw updates on the Paris tape, the second it leaks, smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and like this video right now. Don't miss our next shocking update. See you there.